May 8th, 1892. Dear Martha, how can our happy life have turned into a nightmare of yellow fever? Weren't we swimming in the spring just a few days ago? Weren't we singing our hearts out at the whoop-de-doo? Mama has yellow fever. We were up with her all night. She's burning up with fever and can't keep anything down. I noticed that her face has a yellowish cast. The militia arrived this morning. They instantly took control. The military doctor told Captain Walsh that there's an epidemic of yellow fever that has hit several towns and many travelers. The towns are under quarantine and the hospitals are full. The militia has just set up several more quarantine stations within a few miles of here. The doctor gave instructions to his men and told Captain Walsh that he would begin seeing patients and recommending evacuations. The military men began working immediately, like a colony of ants digging latrines, boiling huge vats of water, and giving out blankets. Some of their cooks set up a kitchen and began preparing food for us. All day I bathed Mama's forehead with cool rags. Pap fanned her with a palmetto frond and held her hand because the weather was hot and sticky. It was a horrible time to be sick with fever. Mama's fever was so high she was talking out of her head. She said, "It's so nice to see you. I've made a fresh fruitcake. Let me slice it and fix you a glass of lemonade." I thought she was trying to tell me that she wanted some lemonade. I squeezed one of her lemons and made 2 cups with plenty of sugar. Pap sipped his, but Mama turned her head when I held it to her mouth. I was worried again. Mama needed fluids, but she would hardly drink. I pictured Mama going to art school. I pictured her making beautiful quilts. Why hadn't I noticed her quilts were beautiful before? I pictured her learning to play the piano, giggling with Miss Melman in the back of the piano wagon. I said, "Mama, you've got to get well. I haven't heard you play Narcissus yet." Mama said, "Why, Teddy, Ethelbert Nevin is coming to call you this very afternoon. I'll play Narcissus for him, and you can hear me then." The military doctor came to see Mama. His aide had a clipboard in his hand and was making notes for the doctor. They both wore cloth masks over their nose and mouth. The doctor was kind. He knelt beside Mama and felt her pulse. He lifted her eyelids and said, "Jaundice." The aide said, "Transfer." The doctor nodded, "Right away." I said, "Where are you taking her?" The doctor said, "Where we can help keep her hydrated. You can see her in a day or so." The doctor's aide called out, "Quarantine 1, 2, or the Plums Farm quarantine, where they have room." I held Mama's hand before the wagon left. Mama opened her eyes and said, "Teddy, you'll be sure to feed the cardinals for me, won't you?" I said, "Yes, Mama." She said, "Good. I saw a bright red one just over there in that tree. He sang so sweetly. If you look, I bet you'll see his mate. She's never far behind." The soldiers lifted her gently into the back of the wagon. I covered her with the blanket. I whispered, "Oh, Mama, please come back to me. Love, Teddy." May 16th, 1892. Dear Martha, my world has been turned upside down. In the past 2 weeks, everything I know has changed. I wish you were here. I need to talk to someone who knows what my life was like before all this happened. Last week, the day after they took Mama away in the wagon, I came down with yellow fever. It started when I went to the goods wagon for dinner around their campfire. Pap wasn't feeling well, so he stayed home and I went alone. Mrs. Good handed me a plate of rice and beans and a cup of tea. All of a sudden, I started feeling dizzy and hot. I remember someone picking me up, someone holding my head while I was sick, someone putting a cloth on my forehead. After that, I don't remember anything until 3 days ago. I woke up on a pallet under some trees near a big house. All around me were people I didn't know, sick people laying on pallets, folks helping, soldiers carrying people on stretchers, a man sitting by his wife's pallet. She moaned all night long. He held her hand and prayed. At first I was confused. I didn't see any of the folks from our wagon train. I thought, am I dreaming? Where is Pap and Mama? Why am I here? A kind woman came to put a cool rag on my face. When she saw my eyes were open, she smiled. She said, "So, you've come back to us. Try to take a little broth." She held the cup to my lips. The broth tasted good. I was terribly thirsty. I was still too weak to talk, but I wanted to ask about my folks. I said, "Mama." She seemed to know what I was talking about because she said, "We've sent for your people. We had some trouble finding them, but they should be here tomorrow." That made me feel better. I fell into a deep sleep. The next day, the same kind woman said, "Your family is here." I was so glad. She brought a man and a woman to see me. The woman had red hair and green eyes. I wondered, who were they? I stared at them, and they stared back. I said, "Where's Mama?" The kind woman said, "Honey, here are your people. Don't you recognize them?" I was confused. Why was she talking nonsense? She tried again. "These are the Tomlinsons, your people." "The Tomlinsons? My people?" I didn't understand. She said, "When your fever was high, you talked and talked and talked about Althea and Joseph Tomlinson. This is Althea's daughter, Alice. We sent for them over in Gainesville." The woman with the green eyes said, "What is your name, dear?" I said, "Theodosia Bodain." She said, "How are you related to Althea Tomlinson? I'm her daughter." I knew the name Althea Tomlinson from somewhere, but where? Althea Tomlinson, Althea Tomlinson. Suddenly I remembered. I took the bracelet off and held it up. "I found this in the spring." The woman with the green eyes read the inscription on the inside. She said, "Well, as I live and breathe, this is Mother's bracelet. She lost it years ago when I was just a little girl. This is the most amazing—" She looked up at me with pity. "I'm sorry we're not your family, but my mother will be so happy to have this back. She wondered about it for years." I don't know why, but I snatched the bracelet from her and put it on my arm. I said, "You can't have it. I found it, and now it's mine. Finders, keepers, losers, weepers." Mama would have been so ashamed. Love, Teddy.